Rocket League is both incredibly simple and incredibly complex, and in order to reach the highest level, you have to master every element of this game. Today we will discuss how to master the 5 fundamental pillars of Rocket League. Mastery of these 5 things will set you on the path to the highest levels of the game. Starting us off is the most important pillar in terms of gameplay: control. Everything we do in Rocket League comes down to control. Want to be able to perform some advanced mechanics? That will only be possible if we have spent time maximizing control of our car and the ball. Naturally, control of the car starts first. The first step to mastering car control is understanding everything about how the car moves on the ground. How can we preserve as much speed and boost as possible? How can we maximize the use of our power slide? How do we get the most out of our car while it is on the ground? This is why a lot of people have recommended that when you first log onto the game for the day, players spend time in free play just getting their car movement as smooth as possible. Then there is the aerial element, a much more difficult area of control to be sure, but one that is necessary to be able to perform more advanced mechanics. To master this area of control, we will want to get used to flying in all kinds of directions. Forwards, backwards, sideways, constant air roll, you get the point. If you are on PC, there are great workshop maps that can be used to really nail down this idea. There are numerous ring courses and various other maps for aerial training as well. Don't worry if you aren't on PC though, as you can still make your own aerial slalom course on any Rocket League field. Just use the boost pads as pillars and practice weaving around them, flying in any direction you can think of, and you can get a similar experience to the ring courses. Car control is only the first half of the battle though, as after we feel comfortable with how we want to move our car, it is all about using that car control to manipulate the ball exactly how we want to, whether it be on the ground with dribbles and flicks, or in the air with double taps and flip resets. When working on aerial control, training packs will be incredibly useful. I recommend going to prejump.com and looking up the type of pack that you want to practice, as that will help you find a little bit more than the in-game browser. As for ground game, we will look to free play for this as well, and we will go back to utilizing the boost pads as pillars, carrying the ball on top of our car, or just rolling it on the ground if you are not advanced enough to carry it on top of the car yet, and working on being comfortable with the ball in our possession. Of course, for PC players, there are again workshop maps available for dribbling and air dribbling that will further work to maximize your control, but console players can learn just as much if they are willing to put the work in training packs and free play. With the pillar of control out of the way, we want to move on to the second pillar, which will be rotations. The way I like to look at this is you can have as much control of your car and the ball as you want, but it does not matter much if you are not in the right position to use those mechanics. Now, rotations in the simplest idea is all about moving around the field, giving your teammates space to operate, while also putting yourself in positions to attack the ball when it falls to you. Now let's imagine we're the blue team here and we're pushing on offense. Now the direction our rotation is going to go is going to depend on which direction the ball goes to. So if the ball, for example, travels over in this direction, well then we're going to see this player go ahead and attack the ball, this player follow into his position, and then what happens to this ball next will determine what this player is going to do. If the defense manages to keep the ball on this side of the field, then this player will follow suit and rotate around to fill this player's spot, and the circle will continue. If the ball instead passes over to this side of the field, then we'll actually reverse the rotation. This player will go challenge the ball, this player will reverse course and go to fill this spot, and this player, after challenging the ball, can reverse back and be ready to fill the spot again as the rotation continues. Now the same thing is true on defense. We'll generally have a circular defensive rotation going, with again one player attacking the ball, one player prepared to move out in place of them, and a third player rotating back. And this is what will allow us to keep that circle going and keep ourselves in contention on defense. Now, that circular motion is the general rule of thumb, but as Rocket League has developed, the idea of rotations has become more and more situational. Nowadays, it really comes down to just understanding who has the best opportunity to go for the ball at any given moment. So if we look at this situation that we have right here, we'll see that Risiko is the first one going back. We have Tide as the second man coming back, and then we have me all the way over here coming out of the opponent's corner, rotating back as the third man. So the general idea of rotation here, if we follow the same idea, would be that Risiko would be going back and then would be the first to turn for this ball. Tide would rotate wide and around and circle back into net. And then I would track which direction the ball was heading on my way back and rotate wide accordingly. The problem is that if you follow this rule to a T, you often end up giving the opponent free space, which is exactly what would happen here if we don't cut this rotation. So if we play this forward slightly, we'll see that Tide gets a demo, Risiko is all the way back. Now if we look, Tide and Risiko are both backwards, so no one here has any opportunity to turn for this ball, as there is no way that they will beat either Has or Swish to this. So the alternative is these guys right here are staring directly at my teammates. And what they see is both of them backwards. So they are not anticipating that someone from the side of the field is going to cut in on this play and be able to force it out of a dangerous spot. And this is what we're talking about. Rotations make perfect sense. Rotate around in the circle, keep all your opportunities open, until you find yourself in a situation where a rotation needs to be cut in order to get to the ball fast enough. So it's just understanding what your teammates are able to go for, and if you recognize that they're in a dangerous space and you have the ability to cut the ball off and help them out, you should absolutely go for it. The third pillar goes hand in hand with control of your car. It is all about recoveries. This is what is going to allow you to get back in the play and keep yourself involved. Every moment you spend on the field not recovering as quickly as possible is another moment that you are completely useless to your team. There is one rule that is often neglected by a lot of players, and that is to hold power slide whenever you are landing awkwardly in order to maintain your momentum. Every Rocket League player has been told this at some point in their career, and if you haven't yet, well, you have now. But here are a few other tips that will put you on the path to mastering recoveries, and will help you stay more involved in your games. When landing in your opponent's net, you want to drive through the net onto the ceiling. Use your jump to get back down to the ground, then wave dash and flip to get back up to speed and back in the play. When landing high on a wall, you want to point your nose towards the ground and jump off after landing on the wall to get back to the ground. Then wave dash and use that speed to get back to the ball. When landing low on your opponent's backboard, you just want to simply point your nose to the ground, drive down, and back into the play. Leaving recoveries, we reach the fourth pillar, which is awareness. Your ability to keep an eye on the other players on the field, tracking where they came from, where are they going, and what are they going to do next. Being able to track the other players around the field and being able to successfully predict what is going to happen in any given situation will put you one step ahead of everyone else on the field. Let's look at a couple examples. So we'll see right here that I'm carrying the ball up the sidewall here, and we just have this ball under complete control, have pretty much full boost, and we'll notice that nobody's pressuring us, so we're not really worried. If we look over here, we see Swish. He is rotating back, so we don't really care about that. What we're really looking at is what is Epic doing. Is Epic gonna creep up on this, or is Epic going to back off? And what he does is going to determine what we do. We might want to go ahead and dish this ball downfield, or out into the mid as a potential pass, or into the corner so we can follow it up. However, if he turns back, then we want to utilize all of this space that he's giving us to keep control of the ball. We don't want to give it back to them for free, so that's what we're going to be doing here, staring straight at Epic to see what his play is. We'll see that he's kind of cruising, and then he turns away. So, okay, you're not challenging, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm just going to bring the ball down to ground. I see you're still not challenging because you're not facing the ball, so this is totally fine. I'll let it bounce, and now I can go ahead and play it around you. And now we see Swish coming through, and we read what direction he's coming from. We're going to try to put our car in front of it, and we do get a block on him and are able to keep the ball in a dangerous spot. So that just gives you a simple idea of what it looks like to focus on your opponents. Where are they going? Are they going back? Are they giving you space? Are they crowding you? It's those questions that you have to ask yourself really quickly that will determine the correct way you need to play the ball. And let's look at one more example right here of how watching my opponents is going to determine what I'm able to do. In the situation right here, this ball is falling down, and we can see that Haz here is the one that's going to be next to attack it. If we look at both Swish and Epic here, we can see that they're flipping away from this play. So they are off going into their own half. So let's go ahead and roll this forward and see how we can utilize this information to make our next move. So Haz gets this touch. We'll see that Epic has turned, but now he's backwards again. The last thing we saw Swish do was flip off screen. So he's gone, he's out of here. And Arisiko is going to get this touch over to the side. Now, if we look at where Epic is, he is all the way back in our opponent's corner, so we don't care about him. The last thing we saw was Swish flip this way, and using our ears, we haven't heard anything from over here, so we know he's not around, so we have all this open space. 69 boost, plenty of boost to make a play here. We're going to let this ball fall to us, and we're going to use this space to take it up into the air. Again, look at all the free space. We'd go ahead and tap it up, follow it up into the air. Would have an open shot, unfortunately. Tide tries to go for something crazy. It doesn't quite work out, but it's that space that we utilize that even gives us an opportunity for a play here at all. And it's understanding where those opponents are, what space do I have, and what can I do with it is a question that you just need to be constantly asking yourself while you're on the field. Finally, we reach Pillar 5, and the element of Rocket League that will tie your game together and make you very, very dangerous. That is a strong mental. Rocket League is a very fast-paced game. Things are bound to not go your way sometimes, but it is your ability to work through those tough times that will allow you to come out on the other side a better player. A perfect example of mental resilience will soon be shown by First Killer. He just made one of the biggest mistakes in Rocket League history at the 2023 Winter Major, basically passing the ball to his opponents for the major winning goal. While that experience is undoubtedly heartbreaking in the moment, it is more about how you can use that experience to better yourself as a player, which I am sure we will see from First Killer in the coming spring split. The same challenge faces all of us on a daily basis in this game, granted on a much smaller scale, but you are going to make mistakes. You are going to have poor performances. There will be times where it feels like nothing is going right, but it is in those moments that the average players will falter and the great players will shine above the struggle. Which one do you want to be? Mastering these 5 things is something that every high-rated player has done, and every new high-rated player will continue to do. If you want to reach the top of the Rocket League mountain, your journey starts here. Of course, if you guys do enjoy videos like this and other videos that I have produced, please consider clicking that bright red subscribe button right down below this video. It really does help me out a lot more than you guys realize, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys. And of course, if you're looking for some more Rocket League entertainments, might I recommend checking out this playlist right here for some more Rocket League tips. Or check out this video over here to see how I use the most distracting car in the history of Rocket League to overcome the Rocket League placebo.